Hello, welcome to another edition of Interview with the Experts. Today I have my good friend Kiran Simhadri from Elevence Health. How are you today, Kiran?
I'm doing great, Kannan. How are you?
I'm good. Well, thank you for taking this time to talk about it. What I wanted to do was kind of go through, you've got a storied career at Elevence, which used to be Anthem, which took over WellPoint, obviously one of the largest healthcare providers, and you've been there for many, many years. So what I want to do is kind of go through your background a little bit, then talk to you. You know, we at Grand Design Systems are building data-centric based kind of solutions. And it's really important for us to hear from you as to kind of how you're looking at technology and how it's moving. So if it's fine with you, we'll just we'll get right into it.
Sure.
Why don't you start by telling our audience a little bit about your background?
Sure. Thanks. I have a career spanning about 25 years, primarily in the technology application development and delivery area. The last 18 have been at Elevence.
Wow.
As you mentioned, our company has gone through a lot of acquisitions, mergers, integrations, etc. And today it stands as an Elevence Health. Primarily, my role has always been on the majority of the business applications that either are used internally or exposed to our customers to use. At the moment, I am playing a role of a senior director of technology, responsible for all of our digital technologies that interface with our constituents, primarily all of our public websites.
Excellent. Well, you know, I've got a career as a vendor, as a software vendor, approximately the same amount of time as you, but in different verticals. So I'm relatively new to the insurance vertical, and we've got some initial customers in property and casualty, but it always struck me, and I'd love to get your take on this when I talk to insurance companies. It's such an industry that is so ripe for using data and being data driven and to do kind of cutting edge stuff. But there's such a risk averse culture, and almost, I don't want to say they're not technology forward, but basically if they don't want to change things that aren't broken. I know it's a highly regulated industry, but I'd love to hear your take on that. As the insurance industry, you've probably seen it change dramatically over the years. Is their approach to technology, and how do you use technology in the right way for Elevence?
So interesting observations you made. And I am on the opposite end from your career perspective. All 25 years are insurance vertical.
Wow, yeah.
This is my personal take on how in particular, health insurance has evolved, in my opinion. Traditionally, this has been a business-driven organization. So you sell insurance and you sell insurance allied services. And then as the numbers grew and the complexity grew, you needed technology help to support it.
Mm-hmm.
But I would like to say probably in the last decade or more, the pendulum started shifting the other way, where for that matter, not just health insurance, any business is now more technology driven.
Yeah.
Technology is driving the business. I mean, you never thought possible when I first came to this country, I never thought possible I could do a video conference call with my family back home in India for free, practically.
Yeah, absolutely.
I used to pay 25 to 30 cents per minute for an audio call.
Yeah.
And now I can do video practically with anybody around. Absolutely. I think the insurance industry as such has been a little slower to adopt. Like you said, it is a lot of regulation. I mean, I'll give you this just example. I was trying to get an appointment for my mother-in-law recently. She's here with us, and they wouldn't talk to me because of HIPAA, just to even get an appointment for her.
Right, yeah.
Without her consent. And there is no electronic way to provide that consent that I am her caretaker and that I can talk to. It's a very laborious process to even get there. And first of all, you get lost in the maze of, you don't even know where to start. So, but at Elevance, I think we have made a lot of strides in the last decade, I would say. So we are now kind of take pride in ourselves as being right from our CEO down to our frontline employees, we are taking the digital first approach. So right now, once you enroll, you get digital identity cards right off the bat. And we have our mobile app, flagship mobile app with many, many millions of subscribers. And it has even received a lot of awards in the industry in that category.
Wow.
We are doing a lot of predictive algorithms in order to meet our members before they need us.
That's fantastic. In fact, that was one of the things I wanted to talk to you about was, our thesis around our companies is all around data, and how data is the competitive advantage, and getting it cleaned and getting it transformed and getting it understanding not just the governance but the provenance of it, so that you can use it, particularly in a highly regulated investor. So I'd love to hear I know your guys are involved in the InsurTech kind of segment. What are the technologies that you're going towards technologies? And, just to put it in perspective for, our audience, which are other practitioners in this market, what should they be looking at as they kind of move forward? Just to give you a note, one of the areas that we play in is in the Guidewire ecosystem. And we know moving to the cloud has been happening over the last decade plus, but we're still finding good business helping insurance companies go from on-prem to the cloud in 2023. So I'd love to hear what are the things that are moving the needle for Elevance on the health side.
Like I mentioned, right, in the last decade or more, a lot has changed. We just did not became a Fortune 20 company. So there has been a lot of investment and a lot of thought leadership and a lot of disciplined effort that went into. Given the size of our company, practically we have experimented or using every technology that's out there. As a matter of fact, we are seriously looking into some use cases for AI now. I think you might have seen the news recently that ChatGPT now is open the App Store.
Yes, I did see.
So we are always actively looking into what's the next thing that we can implement. So that, I think one of the things I want to point out here is the reason I have stayed this long with our company is the philosophy or the vision and the mission is improving the health of humanity. Our company's statement, it's a lofty, bold statement, right? Whether you are insured with us or not doesn't matter. Our goal and our aim is to improve the health of humanity. So when you have a lofty goal like that,
amazing.
Any and everything that we do in our company is essentially geared towards how can we make that experience better for our member, whether it is trying to find a doctor, to trying to get the care they need, or trying to take care of their health outside of just, we offer so many ways in which that we look at it and offer whatever is the appropriate tool or technology that to be offered to them.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting time too, because of these devices. I'm thinking of Apple Watches and Fitbit and the wealth of data now that's coming to be more predictive and more preventative. The game has changed. The game is changing from, hey, we're just going to try and fix you when you're sick, to let's get preventative. And
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome. So when you look at some of the bigger challenges that you're facing now, it's funny. It's kind of like, I don't envy you, because I know as an executive at Elevance Health, you kind of have, you got 50 million members. You're constantly growing. You guys are doing acquisitions, which is for technology is the worst. And you've got these lofty goals. I'd love to hear how you piece it together and how you kind of prioritize which investments you're going to be making. And if you look forward over the next year, what are kind of the areas you're going to be investing in to kind of drive your organization and drive your teams?
I'm not at liberty to disclose all of our internal financial planning and systems here. But at a high level, our process starts almost in the second quarter of the year as to what and how we are looking for the next year in terms of our IT investments or in terms of what the priorities are going to be. And then, of course, we obviously have 3 to 5 year roadmaps that lead us into where our executives are pointing towards the company, where they are wanting us to head to. So in particular, I would say, given the goal or the mission that we set, improving the health of humanity, so any and everything that we do, whether it is any investment we make, the barometer there, the litmus test there is it going to move the needle towards that goalpost or not? So that would be the essential criteria that is applied in order for us to assert that this investment is towards that right thing.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, one of the things that we've gotten a little bit of traction with is we introduced a service called Data Management as a Service, and the idea was that not every organization, obviously you guys being a very large Fortune 15, Fortune 20 company, have a tremendous IT budget and can do things, but not all companies can afford to build experts out at every level of the data stack, from a chief data architect to data scientist to data engineers and data analysts. And so we've provided a service where you can kind of get that data strategy, pay as you go on retainer. You get the best level, but you don't have to invest into a full-time employee, and that maybe goes up and down as the project flow comes in and out.
Understood.
So, I'd love to hear if that's something that kind of makes sense, and you're seeing that more in the industry, or how do you look at versus build versus buy, and how do you look at how you look at your InsurTech vendors? I know you're in touch with all of them, but then you have to combine them. You kind of have to have a best of breed model to kind of combine it. What goes through the thought processes when you're making those decisions?
I think, see, it's again, like I said, as you mentioned, given the size of the company that we are, right? So it is absolutely essential for us to make those decisions, especially when we are trying to get in any technology. I mean, you name a technology we have, like in the data space that you're talking about, we have from the age-old mainframe systems to the latest snowflakes of the world from a data house, right? So we have a myriad of all kind of applications or systems and data sources, etc., that with us. It is at that juncture of when it comes from like this 30,000 foot level to 30 feet level or to the ground level. Somewhere in between this 30 feet to ground is where those decisions will be made. That investment is going to be a buy versus a build. Some cases it makes sense. I mean, like, for example, I wouldn't go about trying to build a Salesforce Marketing Cloud type technology in-house.
Yeah.
That's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Right? You don't want to reinvest on that. But where it makes sense for us, building certain algorithms, let's say in predictive algorithms or whatnot, this is probably where we invest in a lot of our data scientists and the engineers that come up, because these are so unique to us in terms of how our members behave, what clinical journeys they go through, what is the life journey they go through, how we best utilize the data we have in order to build these algorithms and essentially implement them. So we may go where it makes sense to a buy model versus where it makes sense to build model. And there are hybrid models as the situation and the project calls for.
Yes, absolutely. And you guys with 50 million, going on 50 million members, you've got, just so much more data than the.
I mean, you're talking about just 50 million members and now, but if you take 75 years of history of our company and the number of claims that we have processed, number of grievances we have attended to, you're talking trillions and trillions of records of data on which we can base our knowledge and on which we can base our insights, and how can we make this experience and how can we make their health better.
Absolutely. Well, it's so great to talk to someone that's seen kind of what works in an industry over so many kind of, technology goes through waves, and obviously a new wave introduces a new set of technology, and you've seen a lot of them. I think one thing that'll be important for our audience is let me have you give advice to two classes of people. One, advice, if you're giving advice to your vendors, to people that want to participate and how they can play a role to help you get to your chief, what would that advice be? And then secondly, to the younger entrant into the job market that's coming in and joining firms like Elevence, what are the things that you look for in those candidates that allows them to have a career, such a long and glorious career in an industry like you've had?
See, primarily, let me break it down so that I'm getting old. I'll forget questions as you ask, right? So let me first handle the first one, and if I forget the second, please help me refresh that. When we talk to our vendors, right? I mean, given the size of our company, the way I look at our vendors are, in my mind, this is not how our company looks at it, but how I look at it in my portfolio is the vendors that I use to augment and supplement the skill sets that are needed for me to maintain my systems and enhance my systems, versus the other vendors I see who bring thought leadership and some breakthrough technologies that they worked on. I mean, like, for example, recently I have been part of some evaluations where I have seen some of our vendors trying to give us technologies where that could change the whole paradigm of how we approach software development. There's some neat AI-based thing that they have built where they were showing us it's an existing application. It goes and reads the code and kind of creates the library and whatnot. It does all of that. Then if you say, I want to enhance, you go in and say, like how you interact with ChatGPT, you go in and say, I want to now introduce a PDF print feature into it. I'm just making this up.
Yeah.
It immediately not only creates the story, a Jira story, an epic, and writes the acceptance criteria.
Yeah.
And actually it points to, in the code base, where the actual code is going to go. And it actually puts the snippet of shell code in it and produces the test scenarios, both the feature test and the regression test and integration test scenarios. It's like mind-boggling.
It really,
changed the game.
We've talked to executives at technology companies here that have made the statement that we will not do any more human-based coding going forward.
I believe him.
In some areas like security, it's so, because whenever you have a vector that's a weakness, it's always a human, fall. If you so you're right. We're on the cusp of some epic changes.
Yeah. So I am cautiously optimistic because sometimes these are more sale pitches than reality, but I can see that day is soon, sooner than later. So I'm pretty optimistic and excited, but as we said at the earlier on the call, we are highly regulated. So before we bring in a technology that can do something that we may not understand how and what it exactly is doing, it's a little scary proposition.
Yeah. Well, what we found when we started this company is that, no matter where you go, going back even decades, data silos have always been a problem for companies and getting to interact. So the whole idea of a data strategy, now people are really finally taking it seriously and looking at it. And, that's kind of the area where we spend the most time, although we provide some modeling input as well. Well, the last part of that question was,
I still remember.
Yeah.
So it is about what kind of skill set or people that I look for if I'm trying to get it. So we have this great intern program that we have been running, I think we always have interns, but I think I would say in the past 5-6 years, we have more very well formalized in a very methodical university relations and whatnot. So that's something I have welcomed, given almost my 2 decades in this company, to see something where we are actually investing, because this is where, you look back in the last 50 years of history, any technology breakthrough has come from university labs.
Yeah.
any significant, right from Google till cheap chat GPT today, it started at university labs. So we are mostly focusing on trying to tap the talent fresh and green when they are at university and they are like bursting with these ideas and things. So we are providing that kind of a platform for them to come experience our company and experience our business and business problems we are trying to solve and come up with those kind of ideas. That's where personally I would look for those who can challenge the status quo and ask the difficult questions and show what's possible. That is the type of talent, because if you look at average our company, it's good and bad at the same time, because a majority of people are like me who are in our company like 10 plus 15 plus 20 plus years. So having that fresh blood and fresh thought combined, coupled with the institutional SME knowledge, people like us, like me, and the company, I think that's a great combo for our future trajectory and the path of success for us.
Yeah, it's really amazing the culture you guys have maintained and grown, given that a lot of times when you do all these acquisitions, the culture gets lost. You know, funny story, when I was running a services companies in the early 2000s, I had a big deal with WellPoint, and it was the exact time, 5, 6, or 7, when Anthem bought WellPoint. They kept the name WellPoint, but it was Anthem that was in charge, and it was, there were, all of a sudden you had 2 CIOs, you had 2 CTOs, you had 2 CEOs, and you got to decide who's going to take the the ring. So that's been great. Okay, that's great, Kiran. So maybe in closing, I know you've seen decades of change across the technology landscape with insurance companies. Maybe you could put your visionary hat on for us and tell us what you think the industry, what are the challenges? It doesn't have to be rosy, but what are the challenges that you see in the insurance company? Obviously, you're a deep expert in health, but there's other parts of insurance. And when it comes to technology on one aspect, but also just in terms of the business and kind of the softer issues. So we'd love to hear from you, Kiran, on what you see.
Sure. Thank you. So I first came to this country in early 2000s. Car buying was not a very pleasant experience, so to speak. Every time you walked out of the dealership with driving a car, you weren't still sure whether you got the good bargain or not. Versus when I bought my Tesla, I didn't even go to a dealership, so to speak. I put it on the laptop, the price was fixed, everything is there, and the car was delivered to my door. I never stepped foot, including DMV registration and everything. I never had to step foot out of the home in order to get the car. The reason what I'm trying to compare here is the technology has been adopted at various levels in the industry, in our day-to-day experiences, whereas our experience still today, when we go to see a doctor, you still have to give a physical card, which means nothing to the provider. They still have to call the 800 number to validate whether you are truly covered with them or not. So that is something that I personally believe we as a collective individuals and organizations have a lot to make this better experience this day and age. And the second thing is the continuity of care. You and I as individuals, when we go and get our test done, blood test done, it is a paper, and unless you maintain it consistently over you go from Virginia to California to Ohio, your papers are lost and you don't have a record of how you were doing 3 years ago to how you are doing today. This may not make a whole lot of a difference for you and I who are relatively in good health. But if you have a health situation, that continuity of care is critically important. It's not so easy for members to deal with it. Are you going to deal with your health situation, or are you going to deal with this paperwork? and trying to carry this knowledge. I think those two are personally my biggest pet peeves with respect to where, and again, this probably entirely not just the health insurance companies, but it is the health delivery systems. That coordination between insurance and delivery systems can be a lot better and needs to be furthered because it is so distributed and broken systems.
Right.
There is no one owner or accountability coming up. We have seen with our own eyes, like Amazon and big companies trying to take a stab at it, try and start their own companies, but kind of fizzled out after 2-3 years. I really, I mean, we live in Bay Area, and we have seen our share of ideas come to flourish and become Googles and become Facebooks. So I hope you and your team can find solutions like this and make the next big thing in healthcare. Again, not to make it, but it is when you put this member or this individual's experience, how we can make that better. I think some solutions would come and some breakthroughs would come in that area.
I love that. And I can tell you from just as a user of the healthcare systems, I love that executives like you are thinking about customer experience. That example you gave with the Tesla, I lived that too when I bought my Tesla, but it's true all around us, the way Amazon has changed, I don't even go out to buy toilet paper anymore, because it's easier for me to have, I feel guilty about it, but it's easier for them to have it delivered at my door. But so customer experiences, technology has changed customer experiences in so many profound ways, from Uber to Tesla to Amazon. Getting the healthcare providers to catch up with that, what a noble goal. That would be awesome, Kiran. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for your time, sir. And I'm sure we'll touch base with you. And like I said, we really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.